So what vaccines are trying to do is expose the immune system to a piece of a virus so that the body will mount an immune response. So it recognizes it if it sees it again. So typically a lot of the vaccines we have now use weakened forms of a virus, and many of them use a protein. And in this case, in the coronavirus case, we're all familiar with those spike proteins that are on the edge of the football that we've seen in so many images. So one way is to use this spike protein to elicit an immune response. But some of the new types are mRNA vaccines, and they use the genetic code that codes for that spike protein. So in the end, they do the same thing, but the mRNA ones, they're slightly small. It's a smaller molecule. It's a bit easier to make, although it can be a little delicate. So there are some big advantages to mRNA vaccines. They're much easier to make. One of the downsides, though, is that these long chains of mRNA are quite easily broken. One way to reduce the chance of this happening is to store them at very low temperatures. Now, although there are a couple of mRNA vaccines almost ready, one of them has to be stored even colder than the others, and this boils down to differences between the formulation for how these vaccines are produced. So the global urgency around developing a COVID-19 vaccine is unprecedented, and it will lead to an unprecedented timeline for producing a vaccine. The previous record, if you like, was 4 years for developing a mumps vaccine. But these ones obviously are much more urgent, and so all efforts have been made to condense that timeline. Part of it has been to have overlapping phases of development. So you'll find researchers are recruiting for phase 3 clinical trials while the phase 2 trial is still completing. You've also got regulators involved directly from the beginning, not just getting the data at the end when the trial is finished. So that has helped. And overall, you find that all the resources of agencies, regulators, and companies are being thrown at this. So if you think about it as like painting your house, which might take you weeks or months if you do it by yourself, in this case, you've got a whole crew. Everyone has dropped everything else, focused on this one task for a year, and that is how we've managed to condense these timelines into what will probably be less than 12 months.